Hi, Sue Ingram here, and today I want to talk about making that tough decision as to who to furlough or lay off and who to have remain in employment. If you're lucky, and I wouldn't really use that term because there's no luck involved in it really, but the decision has been very simple. Everyone has had to be furloughed. But for other teams and for other businesses, there's still work coming in, but not enough to occupy everyone. And of course, cash flow is king. And there has to be a business, viable and going strong for everyone to come back to employment when all this is over. So you need to make that decision, what percentage of people need to be furloughed and who is it going to be? Well, the first thing here is whatever decision you make, it has to feel fair for the staff. They have to feel that it's the right decision to make and that it has been fairly made. That is the most important thing. And this principle of felt fair applies to salaries and promotions and all kinds of things. It has to feel fair, which means that whatever decision you make, you have to be able to publicly justify it, why you made that decision. So nothing's hidden here. And if someone does come and say, why have I been furloughed and why is that person being kept on? You need to be able to explain it for them to go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, okay. It has to be something that they get and they understand. And this is most important because there's a lot of fear and panic swirling around at the moment. And when people are isolated, it's very, very easy for them to make a big dramatic negative story out of stuff. And you do not want to do that. In fact, everything you do as a manager now is to avoid that thing happening. There's a great story told by Chris Bonington, who was the mountaineer that successfully led the climbing of Everest. Really, a big deal. And apparently, the path to the base camp on Everest is very narrow, so a big team can't pass up that path all in one go. So he split his team into two groups. And he says in his presentations and his stories that he compounded the error by calling one team A and one team B. And he had team A go up the path first, followed a couple of days later by team B. And he said when they came together, he no longer had one team, he had two teams. And team B were now feeling very resentful. Why were they called team B? Why was team A, obviously the favourites, allowed to go on ahead of them? Yep. And he said he had a real dilemma there, and it took him weeks of one-to-one conversations with people to bring them back into the joined up, bonded team that he needed in order to make that successful attempt. And there was a lot of effort he had to do to bring them back together. Do not allow this to happen in your team. Okay? So the first thing you do, so say you have got 10 team members and 6 have to be furloughed. Well, the first thing to do is ask each of those 10 team members in a one-to-one conversation what their preference is. Do they want to be furloughed or laid off, or do they want to remain in employment? Now, I would preface that conversation with, I may not be able to give you your preference, but can you tell me what that would be? Now, some people are going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Some people are going to be talking out of fear, all that kind of thing. But whatever their answer is, you're going to have to accept that that is their decision. And I would say, so this is your stated preference, is it, for to be furloughed or to remain in employment? And they'll go, yes. And you'll say, okay, thank you so much for that information. I'll now go away, and consider the overall picture and come back to you and let you know. Okay, now if you're lucky, you're going to get 6 people say, actually, I would love to be furloughed. In which case you're going to go, phew, thank God for that. And then you can just make the announcement, say, these people made that decision and so blah, blah, blah. If you're not so lucky, it's going to be a bit more complicated than that. However, you may have an opportunity here to ask the team to decide what decision to make. Now, please do not ask your team to make a complicated decision. That's actually you reneging from your responsibility of making this tough decision. So if you're saying, look, we've got a team here of 10, I can only keep 4 on, who are the 6 that go? Do not ask your team to make that complicated decision. But you can ask your team to make an either or. In other words, a straightforward 1 or 2 decision. There was a property company way back when, and the property market had taken a big dive. Now, everyone knew that the property market had taken a dive. Everyone knew that there wasn't money and work coming through the business, and they knew that things were tough. So the top man, he actually stood on a table in reception. He actually stood on the table in reception, called everybody in, and said, okay, guys, we need to make a decision here. And the decision is, I either select 6 people to be made redundant, or all of us accept a wage reduction. Which do you choose, one or the other? And they took a ballot, and they agreed to take the wage reduction. And he also then said, okay, great, these are the conditions, these are the financial targets that the business needs to hit in order for these wage reductions to be lifted. And you can bet your bottom dollar that that team was particularly motivated to hit those financial targets, despite the sector as a whole being depressed. And this is a wonderful example of giving the decision making to the team, having them take ownership of it, and also to give them the information to motivate them in order to gain the pay come back. Really fabulous piece. So you can ask the team to decide, but I would make it definitely only a very simple decision. If you have got a team of 10, you've only got the cash flow and the work for 4, you need to furlough or lay 6. You've had 3 people select to be furloughed. Okay, so you can then say, right, you 3, you've selected to be furloughed, here it is. Or, so you've still got 3 people that you need to furlough or lay off, in which case, to make it fair, hold a ballot. I know, it's as simple as that, hold a ballot. And I want you to really put some effort here into making that ballot transparent. So this is where video really comes into its own, because I want people to see you write individual names on a piece of paper, each name on a piece of paper scrunched up and put in a hat and messed around, and then have somebody, your child, your partner, your cat, I don't care who, I don't care, have it chance which name is selected from the hat. Okay, now that makes it very transparent, and when that happens, you sometimes get people talking offline to each other and swapsy. They're swapping. I'll go on furlough because actually they've got 3 kids. The money's really important to them. I'll go on furlough. So you do sometimes get that kind of situation going on. If that goes on, of course, that's fine. That's great. That's their choice. That's it. But the decision has been made. Phew. And it feels fair. Yeah. Okay. Good luck with all of that one, and take care. Bye.